Happy day. Oh, happy day. It's another windy, kind of cloudy, little simmery, cold day. Let's read. Somebody commented on my video. Thank you so much, Anna Pilipenko, Pilipenko, who said Mansfield Park sounds interesting. So I might just read Mansfield Park next. I might sort of peek with that, and then that's a great idea, actually. I'm so glad you said that, and I'm going to do that. And thank you for your recommendation. That's actually, it does sound interesting, and I think it would be good to dive deep into something that I don't know that much about that one. And I know I can look it up and kind of get acquainted with it, but I think I'm not gonna. Got my absolutely fizzy bubble water. We've got Jane here. So, darling Jane. I want to give her like a puppy dog or something. I don't know why. I should learn how to crochet. I'm gonna write that down. Learn how to crochet. Writing that down on my list of things to do. It's clean the house, cook, take care of yourself, and crochet. Those are the 4 things I've got to do today. We're really on chapter 42 of Sense and Sensibility, but my book has volumes, and so we are on volume 3, chapter 6 of Sense and Sensibility. And right now, Edward came over to see Eleanor. Colonel Brandon gave Edward his home that he and Lucy, apparently Edward and Lucy are getting married. Edward got told out by his family, and they're like, you're disowned, we don't care about you anymore, and we're going to give all the stuff that you as an older son should have gotten to your younger brother. You're disowned. And he was like, yeah, I don't care, I'm going to marry Lucy. Whoa. Okay, so that's, now that we're all cut up, chapter 6, volume 3, Sense and Sensibility. Here we go. One other call in Harley Street, a short and take-leave call, in which Eleanor received her brother's congratulations on their travelling so far towards Barton without any expense, and on or two. Ooh, is that supposed to be 1 or 2? Oh, no, I just read it wrong. And on Colonel Brandon's being to follow them to Cleveland in a day or 2, completed the intercourse of the brother and sisters in town. And a faint invitation from Fanny to come to Norland whenever it should happen to be in their way, which of all the things was the most unlikely to occur, with a more warm, though less public assurance from John to Eleanor, of the promptitude with which he should come to see her at Delaford, was all that foretold any meeting in the country. It amused her to observe that all her friends seemed determined to send her to Delaford, a place in which, of all others, she would now least choose to visit, or wish to reside, for not only it was considered as her future home by her brother and Mrs. Jennings, but even Lucy, when they parted, gave her a pressing invitation to visit her there. Very early in April, and tolerably early in the day, the 2 parties from Hanover Square and Berkeley Street set out from their respective homes to meet, by appointment, on the road. For the convenience of Charlotte and her child, they were to be more than 2 days on their journey, and Mr. Palmer travelling more expeditiously. It just looks like a mountain of a word to say, golly. Expeditiously with Colonel Brandon, was to join them at Cleveland soon after their arrival. Everybody's going to Cleveland. Let's see how Marianne takes this, huh? Marianne, here we are. Few as had been her hours of comfort in London. Yeah, she had a rough time in London, you guys. Mr. Willoughby being the absolute worst. Few as had been her hours of comfort in London, and eager as she had been long to quit it, could not, when it came to the point, bid adieu to the house in which she had for the last time enjoyed these hopes and that confidence in Willoughby, which were now extinguished forever, without great pain. Nor could she leave the place in which Willoughby remained, busy in new engagements and new schemes in which she could have no share, without shedding many tears. She wanted to go, but she didn't want to go, and she didn't really want to stay, but she kind of wanted to stay. Eleanor's satisfaction at the moment of removal was more positive. She had no such object of her lingering thoughts to fix on. She left no creature behind, from whom it would give her a moment's regret to be divided forever. She was pleased to be free herself from the persecution of Lucy's friendship. The persecution. She was grateful for bringing her sister away unseen by Willoughby since his marriage, and she looked forward with hope to what a few months of tranquillity at Barton might do towards restoring Marianne's peace of mind and confirming her own. Eleanor is a very sweet sister, and that's very nice. Their journey was safely performed. The second day brought them into the cherished, although prohibited, county of Somerset, for as such was it dwelt on by turns in Marianne's imagination, and in the forenoon, on the third, they drove up to Cleveland. Cleveland was a spacious, modern-built house, situated on a sloping lawn. It had no park, but the pleasure grounds were tolerably extensive, and like every other place of the same degree of importance, it had its open shrubbery and closer wood walk, a road of smooth gravel winding round a plantation led to the front. The lawn was dotted over with timber. The house itself was under the guardianship of the fir, the mountain ash, the acacia, and a thick screen of them all together, interspersed with tall Lombardy poplars, shut out the offices. Jane Austen loves talking about trees. She talks about trees and what things look like, and I think it's incredible. Her knowledge of just a Lombardy poplars. I just won't even look what that, I don't even know what that means. Lombardy poplars. Ooh, that's a pretty cool tree. Populus nigra, commonly known as a black poplar. Large deciduous tree native to Europe, Northwest Africa, and Western Asia. It can grow up to 100 feet tall. A Lombardy, this picture of it on Amazon. No, I don't want to do that. That's insane. Just show me a picture of what it looks like. It kind of looks like a cypress. Kind of looks like a cypress tree. Really pretty, the Lombardy poplars. Marianne entered the house with an heart swelling with emotion from the consciousness of being only 80 miles from Barton, and not 30 miles from Combe Magna. And before she had been 5 minutes within its walls, while the others were busily helping Charlotte show her child to the housekeeper, she quitted it again, stealing away through the winding shrubberies, now just beginning to be in beauty, to gain a distant eminence, where from its Grecian temple, her eye, wandering over a wide tract of country to the southeast, could fondly rest on the farthest ridge of hills in the horizon, and fancy that from their summits Combe Magna might be seen. She's really having a hard time giving over Willoughby, even though he is the worst. In such moments precious, of invaluable misery, she rejoiced in tears of agony to be at Cleveland, and as she returned by a different circuit to the house, feeling all the happy privilege of country liberty, of wandering from place to place in free and luxurious solitude, she resolved to spend almost every hour of every day, while she remained with the Palmers, in the indulgence of such solitary rambles. She returned just in time to join the others as they quitted the house on an excursion through its more immediate premises, and the rest of the morning was easily willed away in lounging round the kitchen garden, examining the bloom upon its walls, and listening to the gardener's lamentations upon blights, in dawdling through the greenhouse, where the loss of her favourite plants, unwarily exposed and nipped by the lingering frost, raised the laughter of Charlotte, and in visiting her poultry yard, wherein the disappointed hopes of her dairymaid by hens forsaking their nests or being stolen by a fox, or in the rapid decease of a promising young brood, she found fresh sources of merriment. Beautiful, lovely, gorgeous. The morning was fine and dry, and Marianne, in her plan of employment abroad, had not calculated for any change of weather during their stay at Cleveland. With great surprise, therefore, did she find herself prevented by a settled rain from going out again after dinner. She had depended on a twilight walk to the Greek temple, and perhaps all over the grounds, and an evening merely cold or damp would not have deterred her from it. But in heavy and settled rain she could not fancy dry or pleasant weather for walking. Their party was small, and the hours passed quietly away. Mrs. Palmer and the child, and Mrs. Jennings her carpet work. Oh, Mrs. Palmer had the child, and Mrs. Jennings her carpet work. And they talked of friends they had left behind, arranged Lady Middleton's engagements, and wondered whether Mr. Palmer and Colonel Brandon would get farther than reading that night. The place reading. Eleanor, however little concerned in it, joined in their discourse. And Marianne, who had the knack of finding her way in every house to the library, however it might be avoided by the family in general, soon procured herself a book. Nothing was wanting on Mrs. Palmer's side that constant and friendly good-humoured could do, to make them feel themselves welcome. The openness and heartiness of her manner more than atoned for that want of recollection and elegance, which made her often deficient in the forms of politeness. Her kindness, recommended by so pretty a face, was engaging. Her folly, though evident, was not disgusting, because it was not conceited, and Eleanor could have forgiven everything but her laugh. Mrs. Palmer's got, I wonder what it sounds like. The most annoying laugh in the world. I'd love to hear it. The two gentlemen arrived the next day to a very late dinner, affording a pleasant enlargement of the party, and a very welcome variety to their conversation, which a long morning of the same continued rain had reduced very low. Eleanor had seen so little of Mr. Palmer, and in that had seen so much variety in his address to her sister and herself, that she knew not what to expect to find him in his own family. She found him, however, perfectly the gentleman in his behaviour to all his visitors, and only occasionally rude to his wife and her mother. She found him very capable of being a pleasant companion, and only prevented from being so always by too great an aptitude to fancy himself as much superior to people in general, as he must feel himself to be to Mrs. Jennings and Charlotte. For the rest of his character and habits, they were marked, as far as Eleanor could perceive, with no traits at all unusual in his sex and time of life. He was nice in his eating, uncertain in his hours, fond of his child, though affecting to slight it, and idled away the mornings at billiards, which ought to have been devoted to business. She liked him, however, upon the whole, much better than she had expected. Yeah, me too. I'd love to hear. I thought we weren't going to see the Palmers at all, but it's fun that we're with them. I hope we get to experience Mr. Palmer and Mrs. Jennings. She liked him, however, upon the whole, much better than she had expected, and in her heart was not sorry that she could like him no more. Not sorry to be driven by the observation of his Epicurism. That's in the back. Let's see what it says. What? Oh, Epicurism. The pursuit of pleasure. What? Epicurism. Huh. One with a sense of discriminating taste, especially for wine. Wait. Pursuit of pleasure, originally derived from the philosophy of Athenian Epicurus, 300 BC. Wow. who's disbelieved in a future life with divine, sorry, like regular English that's not from the Regency era is really throwing me for a loop right now. Epicurism. The pursuit of pleasure, originally derived from the philosophy of the Athenian Epicurus, who disbelieved in a future life and divine order and hence advocated living fully in the present. Well, sounds like a Buddhist monk to me. A philosophy says it emphasizes pursuit of happiness, cultivating pleasure, avoiding pain. Well, oh, it's a form of hedonism, but with a specific focus on achieving a state of mental and physical tranquility, often referred to as ataraxia and aponia. Key aspects include living simply, valuing friendship, and seeking knowledge, all with the goal of maximizing long-term pleasure and minimizing suffering. I mean, what is so wrong with that? How come we're not all doing this? I'm gonna learn more about this. This sounds dope. How do we pronounce this? Let's just see if we're doing this right. Another 1 minute long video from YouTube. This is insane. Hold on. I like this word.
Epicurism.
Epicurism. I just wish it was not. Not that I'm against American English sounds. I just wish it was like a French person saying it or something, or a Greek person saying it. Greek philosophy, Epicurus. This is cool. Living simply, valuing friendship. This is what I want to do. What do these people do for work? What do Epicurists do for work? Oh, they're epicures. An epicure. An epicure? Epicures would likely suggest finding work that aligns with natural desires and minimize suffering, rather than focusing solely on external rewards like wealth or status. Yeah. Epicurus, a person, believe that natural desires like food, shelter, and company are easier to fulfill and lead to greater happiness than pursuing artificial or vain desires. Right. This is my guy. This is my dude. How did I find this in a Jane Austen novel? This is freaking dope. Okay, gonna dive into Epicurus later. Focus. I'm shocked and excited and so grateful for you, Jane. And there's a Greek temple right there. Oh, we're getting into the Greek side of Jane Austen. Probably from reading Eleanor, however little discourse of Marianne who knocks and find her way to the house of the library. Right. Good humor is the openness. No tone for her pretty face and the laughter. Right. She's got a terrible laugh. Oh yeah, she decided that she liked him. Epicurism, here it is, where she said she liked him, however, upon the whole, much better than she had expected, and her heart was not sorry that she was not sorry that she could like him no more. Not sorry to be driven by the observation of his epicurism. His selfishness and his conceit, to rest with complacency on the remembrance of Edward's generous temper, simple taste, and diffident feelings. Wow. I learn something new every day from you, Jane Austen. Thank you so much. I'm gonna dive into that later. See what I find. Of Edward, or at least of some of his concerns, she now received intelligence. Ooh, the CIA officer, Colonel Brandon, received some secret intelligence from Colonel Brandon, who had been into Dorsetshire lately, and who treated her at once as the disinterested friend of Mr. Ferrars. And the kind confidant of himself talked to her a great deal of the parsonage at Delaford, described its deficiencies, and told her what he meant to do himself towards removing them. His behaviour to her in this, as well as in every other particular, his open pleasure in meeting at her after an absence of only 10 days, his readiness to converse with her, and his deference for her opinion might very well justify Mrs. Jennings' persuasion of his attachment, and would have been enough, perhaps, had not Elinor still, as from the first, believed Marianne his real favourite, to make her suspect it herself. But as it was, such a notion had scarcely ever entered her head, except by Mrs. Jennings' suggestion, and she could not help believing herself the nicest observer of the two. She watched his eyes, while Mrs. Jennings thought only of his behaviour, and while his looks of anxious solicitude on Marianne's feelings in her head and throat, the beginning of a heavy cold, because unexpressed by words, entirely escaped the latter lady's observation. She could discover in them the quick feelings and needless alarm of a lover. Marianne's feeling in her head and throat, the beginning of a heavy cold. It's terrible. She has a heavy cold. It is so interesting when, God, this time of life is so crazy. Like, you're really jiving with a person, but you think that they're in love with somebody else that they barely talk to. And you're like, this only makes sense. We're really jiving. But somehow you like this other person that you don't even barely talk to. And I'm helping you get with them. I don't know. It's just, this love is so weird. Back then, you know, now it's just like so easy. But 20s, early teens. Two delightful twilight walks on the third and fourth evenings of her being there, not merely on the dry gravel of shrubbery, but all over the grounds, and especially in the most distant parts of them, where there was something more of wildness than in the rest, where the trees were the oldest, and the grass was the longest and wettest, had assisted by the still greater imprudence of sitting in her wet shoes and stockings, given Marianne a cold so violent, as though for a day or two, trifled with or denied, would force itself by increasing ailments on the concern of everybody and the notice of herself. Prescriptions poured in from all quarters, and as usual were all declined. Though heavy and feverish, with a pain in her limbs, a cough, and a sore throat, a good night's rest was to cure her entirely. And it was with difficulty that Elinor prevailed on her, when she went to bed, to try one or two of the simplest of the remedies. We started out this novel with Marianne going for a frolic in the world, on a hill or whatever, and she fell and sprained her ankle. And now she's sick. Maybe this is just her body's way of discharging all this grief. She really had to get sick to move through this experience that she just had. And maybe that's how life works. You just gotta, your body's like, lay down. I hope she's okay. I mean, I think she's gonna be okay. I haven't read this book yet. We'll have to find out. Oh, gosh, she's like refusing medicine. She needs to be on a hospice or what? She needs to convalesce somewhere. Hopefully she can convalesce. Whew. I'm so distracted by Epicurism and how to pronounce it and everything, and I'm gonna go do that, and then I'm gonna come back and we'll read some more. How about that? See you next time. Happy reading whatever you are reading. I'd love to hear what people are reading these days. Some new recommendations for books. Not that I need any, because I have so many in the works right now. My goodness. But happy reading, everybody, and ta-ta for now.